Hello and welcome. We are live, so I'm waiting for people to come in. I'm a bit new to this technology, so forgive me if there are some mistakes or errors. Let me know. If you cannot hear me, please let me know. I'm not. I hope I'm looking at this the right way. So let me quickly check this here to make sure my settings are correct. If you'd be so kind as to comment if you can hear me or not. So I'm not seeing any comments now, so I'm not sure what's going on. Let me just try this. So forgive me 1 second. Let me just do this one time. 1 second, and we'll start in just a moment. Just a moment, we'll be starting. Okay, just a moment, we'll be starting. Just want to be sure that everything is working correctly. Okay, so since I'm not getting any complaints about the audio, about the sound, I'm going to assume that you can hear me. I'm gonna change my settings here so I can concentrate on you. And we'll jump right into it. Okay, so again, if you'd be so kind as to comment if you can hear me or not. If you don't feel like commenting or sharing with me, that's good too. We are here to have some fun, we are here to learn, and we are going to look at the 3 mistakes you are probably making that are causing you to miss out on high paying clients. Okay, so let me just switch this. Again, forgive me, I'm new to this. I'm loving it though. It's a great experience. So, all right, let's jump in. Now, my name is John Paul. At the moment, I work as a WooCommerce developer. I've done different kinds of programming, and I decided, excuse me, sorry about that. I decided to focus on WooCommerce for a lot of personal reasons. So, let me start by telling you how I ended up here and what my story is and the background is, so you can understand, where I'm coming from and how I'm sharing this message with you. So, as you may have seen from my profile, I'm a single father. I'm a very proud father, and the past few years I've spent in family courts because of related matters. And if you've been through that, if you live in the UK or United States, you probably know, or wherever you live, that it's not always an easy process. And it actually did take a toll on me, and it took a big toll on my business. So before all the mess started, I was doing quite okay for myself, had a few employees, so I started out freelancing, built it up, attracted some people to work with me, and um, continued building it up that way. And then when all these family issues started, I had to scale down, and things didn't go so well. So fast forward till today, I'm grateful to say I've secured very important wins, if you could call them that, because nobody really wins, but some good results, if you should say it that way, from the whole process. And I decided to rebuild what I had built before, and this time actually to make it bigger than I have ever done it before. And as I was preparing my business plan and working through my projects and communicating with other freelancers, I realized I had an unfair advantage getting back into it that a lot of freelance developers do not have. And the advantage I have is that I understand how to attract high paying clients. Now, to be fair, what a high paying client is to me is different to you. For me, anybody who spends, say, 10,000, 20, 40, 50, 60, and I've had people spend over 70,000 pounds, sorry, US dollars with me on projects. And to me, that's a high paying client. Perhaps for you, the minimum you are looking for is $100,000 or a bigger. It doesn't really matter the amount. The reality is, when you're looking for high paying clients, the strategies, the tactics, the mechanics, and the processes that you need to secure these clients, they are much different from working with clients who pay less money. So now, when you go online on LinkedIn and other places, Reddit, you see a lot of people complaining about how hard it is to get good clients or to get any clients at all. But the truth is, there is some truth to that. However, if you know how to look and where to look, and you stop making the mistakes I'm about to share with you, then you will find it much easier to find the kind of clients that you deserve, and the kind of clients that who will pay you the kind of money that will allow you to serve them at a high quality, provide great quality results, and obviously provide for yourself and your family and live a good life, and everybody's happy, right? So before we go into the three mistakes, it's important that we understand some basic mindsets that you have to adopt if you want high paying clients. Because if you don't have these mindsets, even if I share the mistakes with you, you probably not understand them at the best level because you have the foundation of it. And also, you will miss out on other things that will help you to strengthen the earning ability of your freelancing business. So the first mindset you have to think about is, there is no passive way of attracting high paying clients. And I'm saying this because a lot of people think you could just stumble upon high paying clients. You can't. You have to be very conscious and decide that you want to get these clients. So even if you are starting from scratch, from zero today, you have to make a conscious decision that you are going to look for high paying clients. And you have to be proactive about it. You can't be passive about it. You can't just put up a website or a web page and expect that you're going to get high paying clients. No matter how good your site is, it's not going to happen. That's just the harsh reality. So you will have to put in work. So where people say it's hard, there is a bit of hard work to it. It's not as difficult as you may seem, you may think, or as it seems, but you will have to put a bit of effort. So that's one mindset that you need. So the other mindset that you need if you want to attract high paying clients is that you have to be willing to give it time. Okay? So for some people, they may get if you apply what I'm sharing with you today, you may very quickly attract somebody. Depending on where you are, you could find one today, tomorrow. For some people, if you've already built a certain foundation. For others, it may take 2-3 months sometimes. But if you are putting in the effort, it's really worth it. When I remember when I had my first $10,000 client, and I'll actually share more of that story later. But it took me a little over 3 months to get that client, and in the meantime, I earned very little money. I think I earned less than $200 in those 3 months. Luckily, I had a bit of money, and I had a girlfriend who helped out, who believed in what I was doing. But other than that, I had to work a day in, day out to prepare the foundation to get those clients. Once you've built the foundation, it becomes easier because now you have, the basics that you need for that. So be willing to give it time. And the other mindset, or the last mindset before we jump into the mistakes, is you have to be willing to try something different. You can't just do things the way you've been doing now because you get the same results. So you have to be willing to try something different and accept that you may not like the new way in the beginning. It will not be comfortable. It is not what you're used to. But If you are willing to do that, then these tips and this advice will help you. So this is going to be different from most of the things you've ever heard. This is going to have some overlaps with what you may know, but with a different twist and a different angle to it. So if you are ready, let me jump into the first mistake I think you are making. And the first mistake I think you're making that's stopping you from attracting high paying clients is you are probably not hanging out in niche market forums or discussion groups and you don't belong to them. Now, what do I mean? Most developers join communities and hang out in places where other developers hang out. But guess what? Your clients are not hanging out there. Your clients are probably in groups, in business groups that are related to their business. So, for example, let's say you want to have people who own care homes as your clients, right? Because that's a very viable niche. The healthcare market is growing. I think over the next 10 years is really going to grow, and there is going to be a lot of demand for apps, a lot of demand for websites and other software related products for healthcare, right? So let's say care homes. You want to be hanging out in a forum or a discussion forum where care home owners and managers hang out, right? Because guess what? You are going to be the only developer, most likely, or one of the very few, to hang out in those discussion forums. So wherever they ask each other advice, oh, how do you build a website? How do you build an app? Let's say we need to manage patient intake, we need some software. What we've got is not working. A lot of times they have little niche problems. And when you hang out in those discussion forums, you are going to get those problems. And because you're a technical person, you are going to be able to present them with a solution. And now it's very important that you understand that to get a high paying client, you have to be in a leadership position. They have to look up to you as far as that problem is concerned. They can't look at you as they will look at their employee, because employees get paid for minimum wage to whatever minimal amount they can pay per hour. That's the employee mindset. But if you are hanging out in the same community as they are, they will then see you as a business owner. So when they come to you as a business owner, they understand they have to come with a lot of value. So, for example, when I had my first $10,000 client, I joined a group. It was a paid group, and it was based around a specific market. And I was the only developer in the room, right? So when the development issues came up, I was able to provide answers that nobody else knew because that's my expertise. And I was able to secure a very comfortable deal through that. I made a lot of money, and the contract didn't last that long. It was a very, relatively quick job, but because of the value of the result that the code provided, I was able to make a lot of money quickly, and through that get other projects and also bigger projects. And I've gotten several people to work with me by hanging out in niche market forums. So what you want to do is decide roughly the kind of um, market you want to serve, and find a discussion forum where business owners in that market hang out and contribute and interact with them. They will see you as you are one of them. They will look up to you, and you find it much easier to attract them, and they will be more likely to offer you a job or a gig, right? Or a contract. Now, the last thing I want to say on that before I move on is, would you rather be competing with another 50 developers for the same gig by trying to, beat them on price or say, pick me, pick me, pick me? Or would you rather be seen as an equal, and a business owner says to you, hey, I've got this problem and I know, or I hope your expertise can help me, and I'm willing to pay good money because you are a business owner like me and I trust you because you've built a trust by hanging out in those forums. And again, if they are paid, it's better because they know there's a barrier to entry. And that way you'll be able to secure better contracts without competition. So if you're not hanging in niche market forums, you're really missing out on loads of opportunities. The second mistake is chances are you don't have a process that disqualifies and qualifies the right clients. Now, what do I mean? Most freelance developers, when they hear a client is looking for work, they just jump in and try to offer as much what they think is value upfront. So they offer advice and so on and so forth, just jumping at them, trying to be the best one or the coolest one of the other ones you're competing with. And if you notice, we are trying to remove competition from the process. We are trying to become the trusted advisors of of the client, right? You so you want to be seen as an equal, as we mentioned before. You want to be in the leadership position. So what I do is any client who is not willing to get on the phone and cannot dedicate a full hour to discuss their project, straight away, I'm not dealing with them. Why? And that's even if they seem interested in working with me. I just tell them no. And I've told many clients no. And I'll tell you why. If a client is not willing to spend an hour to talk to you about their problem, that means they don't believe you can solve the problem, or that problem is not that important to them. And if it is not that important to them, they are not going to pay a lot of money for it, right? That's the logic. Now, when they get on the phone with me, I spend at least, especially the first 25 minutes, asking questions and listening. I try to understand how their business works, how the problem affects them, and exactly what kind of results they are looking for. I do everything I can to understand how it affects their business and what will happen if they don't solve this problem. Because when I understand that, I can then provide a quote that promises the results. And if I know, let's say if they don't solve the problem, it's gonna end up, let's say, over a year or two, costing them $100,000, right? If they don't solve the problem. If you say, well, it's gonna be $12,000, it makes sense for them because that's little compared to what they stand to lose. And because I hang out in the niche market forums, I have other advice that I can use the project to get them even more money than they were expecting, right? Because when you're hired as a developer, remember, you're not hired to write code. You're hired to solve problems and ultimately to make more money for the clients. That is why we exist. So, as a caveat, when we say, oh, I know React, oh, I know Swift, oh, I know C++, I know this framework, that framework, every developer is saying that. And even if the client is saying they are looking for that, you provide that, then you are not in the leadership position. But when you're able to say, oh, you're having problem X, Y, and Z, right? Because you've been hanging out in the niche forums and you understand those problems, the client's like, oh, yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me I'm the first one to truly understand what they are going through and they are grateful for it. And now you can charge more money because you understand the problem. And because you've disqualified anybody who is not willing to put in effort and time with you, you are now closer to getting a better client because now through that phone call, you can qualify the client. You will realize, wait a minute, this client cannot afford what I have to offer. So you still help them the best way you can on the call and you let them go. And I know it's really difficult to do if you're struggling with money, which I've experienced. At the same time, in the long term, it's best to do that because you want to have the free time to get the big client that makes up for all the times when things were harder. So I'm not saying never accept those clients, but you are in a better position. And as your business grows, you can get rid of those clients who can't afford you or you can't solve their problem. And that way, your business grows faster and you're able to make more money, right? So the second mistake is not having a process to disqualify and qualify the clients. Or you could rephrase it by saying just accepting everybody. Because again, the low paying clients are just looking for price. The higher paying clients are looking for results and they are looking for quality. So the more time and quality time you can spend discussing the project before you start, before you give them a quote, the higher the chance they will hire you and the easier it will be for you to create results for them. So now let's talk about the third mistake. And the third mistake is perhaps the biggest one. And I'm trying to find the right way to phrase it so that it doesn't sound wrong. One way to say it is perhaps thinking with the employee mindset, right? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or rude to anybody who's an employee, right? Because we've all been employees or are employees at any given point in time. So it's not about that. But you have to think like a business owner. And this means you can't just think, oh, I want to build websites, oh, I want to program apps, oh, I want to, program hardware. That is the job. That is the actual job. But the business itself is there to serve a market. So this means you have to expand what you offer. And as a developer, you need to have your own products and tools that you offer the market. So even if it's a free software product, it's still a product that your business is providing. Because when you provide those tools, that's when businesses come to you before you even go to them. I would say about 60, 70% of clients I've had is through selling software products and scripts and providing free tools that people can download or building web pages where businesses in the market I'm serving can use to do something in their field. Because that's how I built trust. I remember one of the communities I joined, it was a paid community in the niche market. They had an issue because the software they using for server uploads, for updates and stuff like that wasn't working properly. So I created a free tool, right? As one of the only developers in there and made it free, right? So it was a free tool. And they really needed that tool. And I said, listen, it's free. I accepted donations and people started using it and they started donating. But then I had people also contact me to do projects. And I got tens of thousands of dollars from projects just from that free tool that I created for that business. So if I was thinking like an employee, right, thinking I just have to do my job, then I wouldn't have created the tool because that's not my job. Nobody's paying me to do it. But because I was thinking in terms of a business, in terms of being a business owner, I provided a service and it created a tool. So where it all comes together is as you hang out in the niche market forums, you want to start looking for problems to solve. Then you promote the tools, right? Or you create products that could be paid for those specific problems. It will take you time. That's what I'm saying. This is not something that's overnight. It's not something that you just do in one day and tomorrow you have clients. But if you put in consistent time, it's really worth it. Because one client, for me again, let's say I remember I had a client spend about $30,000 with me for a project. And at the time, that was a really cool amount of money to get. The same time, if I get a $10,000 client or more, like again, that's for me. I understand you may have bigger requirements, right, or smaller. It all depends on you. But by hanging out in the niche forums, right? So that's where the first mistake is about not hanging in those markets. I've been able to find problems, created tools, put away my employee mindset and doing only what I'm told to do, and try to perform a job, but rather thought like a business and provided tools and services, both free and to sell, that solves that problem. Then when people come to me, I have a process to qualify and disqualify them. And one of the part of my process is to make sure they spend at least 1 hour with me on the phone or Zoom, where I can hear more about what they are looking for before I can tell them what the next step is. And through that, I've been able to secure better clients. So again, first mistake, not hanging in niche market forums where business owners who would hire you hang out. Two, not having a process to disqualify and qualify clients, because again, higher paying clients like people who take time to understand if you are a right fit. And thirdly, thinking more like an employee rather than a business, and expanding your reach and your grasp in that specific market. So if you have any questions, I'm looking at my comments. Today, well, it's one of my first broadcasts, so we are not getting many comments. Maybe you're watching a replay, and I'm just glancing on the time because I promised you a specific time. So um, these are the things. And whilst waiting for perhaps some questions to come in, I'll share some thoughts, general thoughts about finding high paying clients. It's mostly a mindset shift. You High paying clients is not about proving yourself to the clients. It's about both sides deciding that you are right for each other. It's about having confidence in charging more money and choosing the right clients. Because if 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 you only think about price, right? If, as intuitive as it sounds, high paying clients are not about price, because once they can afford a lot of money, they are not worried about the price. What they are worried about is whether you can deliver. So if you think in terms of, oh, I normally charge $10 per hour or $20 per hour, but this one is paying me $200 per hour, right? When you break down what you're getting for the contract, if you think that way, what you communicate subconsciously to that client is that you are not a business owner. And then they won't trust you on that level, because the only reason why they are paying you a lot of money is because they think you understand the critical components of their business, which again is why it's good to hang out in the niche forums, discussion forums that your clients hang out in, right? So that's a big mindset shift. A lot of people feel uncomfortable charging a lot of money. But again, you are getting paid not just for the job, you are getting paid as a business, and you are getting paid for the responsibility for providing those specific results. And if you can't provide those results, then the clients are not really interested in you. You have to be the leader. The clients, high paying clients, don't want to supervise you. They want to be able to hear, look, call me back in 2 weeks and it will be solved, right? Or call me back in 2 weeks and I'll give you an update. They don't want to, you know, manage you. That's why they're also paying you, so they can concentrate on their own business whilst you concentrate on your business, which is providing your development services and obviously solving problems for clients. And I'm looking again, um, no questions, which is cool. I'll just talk some more. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, just feel free to send me a message or put a comment or ask a question, and I'll do my best to answer. You can let me know what's the most difficult part you find when finding clients. So, again, you want to look for clients in places where there is almost no competition, where you are the person who knows what to do and knows how to do it. And sometimes you may not know exactly how to do it, but you have to trust your skills that you will find the answers, right? Um, I remember I had a client, which again for me was high paying, because at the time, depending on the job, he was, had to do them at night, and it was an emergency. So for each night, I got between 800 to I think $1,006 for those nights, right? Working. And um those well, it was high paying for me, and I was able to solve those problems. And by the time morning came, the client was comfortable that I was able to solve that problem. But here's what's important: the client had another client for the overall business that was bigger than him, and he trusted me with the responsibility that I will serve both him and his bigger client, that the bigger client will not be disappointed in him. So, in other words, he entrusted his business in me, right? By writing the code to support the infrastructure of that business. So, the reason why he was able to pay me, say, 800 or 1,500, some nights it was 1,700, depending on the kind of work I had to do, because I had to do extra research. So I didn't always know what to do. But again, I trusted that I could research and solve the problem, which was my original thought, and I forgot it. Yeah, so I was able to research it, and I knew I could research it and solve it. The client was able to trust me, and I delivered and made good money, and my client made even more money, which I'm happy because that's what we do. So I'm gonna look at the time, and it's about time for me to go. So thank you so much for watching this live. It's new for me. I'm gonna get used to this. I'm gonna be doing this for a while. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying sharing this with you. Thank you for watching. Get in touch. I'll help any way I can. I'm still building up, building up my website and all that stuff, but I decided not to wait with these lives for everything to be ready. I don't So the same way, don't wait to have everything ready before you start applying these tips and before you start avoiding these mistakes. Start now, regardless of your situation. So bless. I believe in you. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you again soon. Take care of yourself. Bye.